Picture this. You have this amazing marketplace, and you are ready to start selling your assets or in-game items, but you accept payment in just one single token. So, a potential buyer finds the perfect NFT, they get hyped, but as soon as they hit on the buy now button, they get stuck. The reason? They don't have the specific token on the specific blockchain required to complete the purchase. So this leads to an unsuccessful sale and a frustrated customer. This happens all the time because there are a bunch of blockchains with hundreds, if not thousands of tokens. And if each dApp accepts payments using a different token, tracking all of them is a nightmare. So you have built this amazing product, but this payment flow becomes an invisible barrier that is preventing you from completing sales. For example, if your application accepts payments on Optimism, but the user has ETH on Mainnet or maybe Matic on Polygon, they are not going to be able to complete the process, at least not in an easy way. They have the assets on a different blockchain, they want to get your NFT, but the technicalities stand on the way. What if they don't have crypto at all? Well, that's another complete headache. So today I'm going to show you how you can build a marketplace that's able to accept payments using any token on almost any EVM compatible blockchain, regardless on where you have those tokens. And also the ability to pay using fiat with a credit or debit card if the user don't have crypto. All thanks to Universal Bridge, thirdweb's latest product. So for today's tutorial, first we are going to discover what Universal Bridge is, how it works, and how you can quickly integrate it into your projects. Then, if you want to learn how to build this marketplace, we are going to be doing so from scratch with the help of some AIs, which is going to be really fun, so stay tuned until that step. And finally, we are going to be integrating Universal Bridge into this marketplace in order to be able to accept those payments on any blockchain, regardless where you have the assets. So I hope you are hyped, go and get a cup of coffee and get ready because we are just getting started. So what is Universal Bridge? Let's take the example I showed you before. If the user would like to actually get the NFT from the marketplace, they would have to go through a process like this one. First, they need to find a decentralized exchange in Polygon, swap Matic for USDC on Polygon, then find a bridge to send the Polygon USDC to the Arbitrum chain, and finally return to the page and only then be able to complete the purchase. As you can see, each step adds a potential loss on a sale because people can say, oh, this is too overwhelming, I don't want to continue the process. So what if instead your marketplace could say something like, you have Matic? Great, we are going to handle the rest for you. You don't have crypto at all? Don't worry, pay with a credit or debit card and we are going to sort everything out, from transforming that fiat to a specific token the marketplace receives. That's exactly what Universal Bridge does, allow you to pay on each marketplace with the tokens you already have, regardless the chain. Of course, it should be an EVM compatible chain, right? Or if you don't have crypto, you can pay using a fiat payment like credit or debit card, and the transition and transforming that fiat money into tokens is going to be automatically handled by Universal Bridge. So for example, let's take Treasure Chain. It's a gaming platform that has their own token and its own blockchain. Trying to onboard users on Treasure is cumbersome. You need to know about swapping, about bridging, which tokens you can use, and it's complex for most users, especially newcomers. With Universal Bridge, getting magic tokens on Treasure Chain is really simple. The user just specifies the amount, and in this example, it's going to get 100 magic tokens, about $20, more or less. The component shows data connected wallets, even social logins such as Google accounts. And if they choose to pay, let's say with credit or debit card, Universal Chain is going to automatically first on-ramp them to Arbitrum ETH, to swap the ETH for magic on Arbitrum, and finally bridge that to the Treasure Chain. All of that happens under the hood without any additional user interaction. The user just clicks once, and they get the magic tokens on the Treasure Chain. No need to understand swapping, bridging, or which tokens to use as intermediaries. How cool is that? And you can integrate Universal Bridge directly on your applications. The way you do it is really simple. Let me show it to you. Okay, so to integrate Universal Bridge within your application, you have three options. The first one is using Connect button. Most of you probably have already used Connect button in your applications. It's really easy to add. You just need to add the Connect button hook from our SDK. And once you have that connected to your application, you can do what I showed you before, like just go into your in-app wallet, click on buy, and here you can select the chain and buy the tokens directly here, and all that bridging and swapping process is going to be automatic. And you can personalize this Connect button by going to the playground, and here you can change a lot of the button information, such as the colors, which social accounts you can use, which wallets you can use, and etc. The second option is embed. This is pretty useful if you are selling real world assets such as hoodies or cups, and it's really nice because you can customize this to add the amount of items you have, which is going to be the recipient address, and the ability to set the price. This is quite nice because if you are receiving payments in USDC, if the user decides to pay it with credit card, all that bridging process between the fiat to the USDC on the chain you're using is going to be automatic, which is really cool. And finally, the third option you have is to use send transaction with pay. Universal Bridge is enabled by default for any contract call sent with send transaction. So basically, you just need to use this use send transaction hook. You define the transaction parameters, and once the user click on that button, this is going to automatically happen. And this is the method we are going to be implementing on our marketplace when we jump to the coding section. So if the user clicks on buy now using this hook, this is going to trigger their in-app wallet and the ability to pay using the selected payment method, which is nice. And that are the three ways you can easily integrate Universal Bridge into your applications. Now let's jump to the coding section in which we are going to build that NFT marketplace, and we are going to be integrating all of this on the app. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's jump to the coding section of this tutorial. As I showed you at the beginning of the video, we are going to be building this really nice marketplace with these nice visuals. And here we are selling these magical items. This could be 100% game assets for an on-chain MMO. So we have here swords, staffs, and magic potions. And when you open any of the items, you are going to get the description of the item, the price, the stats, more details, and the history of who created, who listed, etc, etc. Of course, we have the ability to buy, but for that we need to connect the wallet. So our marketplace is going to also have the ability to connect a wallet. We are going to be using in-app wallets for them to be able to use Universal Bridge, but that's for later. And also, as you might notice, these are assets that are already deployed into a blockchain. So we are going to be also creating the NFT contract and the NFT marketplace and listing those NFTs on the marketplace. I'm going to show you how to do that step by step. But let's get started with the frontend, shall we? What if I told you that most of this frontend was built using AI? We live on this amazing era on which projects like this one that could take you 2 weeks, 1 week, or some days now takes you just a couple of hours, because you can ask an AI to generate the user interface for you, most of the coding part of the frontend, and also the assets, the images were also generated using an AI. And I'm going to guide you step by step on how you can replicate what I did here. So let's get to it. Okay, so for building the user interface, we are going to be using this nice AI called B0 from the people from Vercel. So for example, if I want to create an interface similar as the one I showed you before, let's see which prompt I could use here. So for example, I can say create a NFT marketplace for gaming items like swords, staffs, and magic potions. Create an NFT marketplace for gaming items like swords, staff, and magic potions. Use pixel art and make it feel like a 90s game. Use accents in purple and green. I think that with this base prompt, we are going to be able to generate something decent enough, but Something interesting about V0 is that we have this little button here called Enhance Prompt, which is going to take whatever we said here and make it even better. So let's click it. It is going to analyze what I said and it's going to create this really nice prompt. So let's submit this and let's wait until the AI give us something in return. So as you can see, it's going to start coding the interface. It's going to take what we ask on the prompt and it's going to start, trying to generate a marketplace for us. So let's wait a little bit until this finishes. So after some minutes, this is the final result the AI generated for us. As you can see, this is pretty good. Actually, I'm started to like this version more than the one I made for this video, but as you can see, we have this nice connect wallet button, the categories, and some mock information about each one of the items with this nice animation of zooming in. So for example, if I open this, I'm going to have an interface such as this one. Of course, these images are just placeholders, but this is actually pretty good. And we have some tabs and some photo information. This looks really professional and it took the AI just like 5 minutes or so. Now you have two options. First, you can just take whatever the AI generated and directly clone it into your computer and start building with it, or you can start personalizing the parts of the interface the AI generated. So for example, if you click on the button over here, you can go to activity and I'm going to say, I don't want this button. Hit enter, the AI is going to take your request and is going directly to the code and is going to remove that functionality, and as you can see, that activity is no longer available. If you go to the code section, you're going to see that here you're going to have the entire application structure, which is really nice. So I encourage you to do the exact same as I did here and start tinkering, adding, asking. But for the tutorial, I already created the interface I showed you before. So let me actually put that on screen. And as you can see, I created the same prompt, create an NFT marketplace for gaming items, source, tab, magic potions, use pixel art and make it feel like a 90s game. Use accents in purple and green. It created me a base interface, and after that I was asking more questions, tried to make some adjustments here and there, and after a long history of asking and tinkering, we end up with the interface you saw at the beginning of the video. So I'm going to make this available for you and I'm going to copy this link and share it on the description of the video. So if you want to see the entire chat history on how we get to this interface, it's going to be linked below. So once you have a decent enough interface you feel comfortable with, you can go to the 3 points here and copy this code. Let's go to our terminal and let's paste it. Let's hit enter. And this is going to clone the repository and the project to be the exact same as we created on V0. It's going to ask me what's the name of this app. In this case is Universal Bridge Marketplace. You can use any name you want. Let's hit enter. It's going to create the Next.js project for me. So let's wait a little bit until this finishes. I'm going to select New York, recommended, neutral. It's going to start cloning everything and creating the project for me. It's going to install some dependencies. I'm going to say yes to everything. And as it says that, we have it. So I can just cd to the Universal Bridge Marketplace and run this on my local server with npm run dev. This is going to run this on localhost on the port 3000. Let's open this. And it's going to load the page for me. And as you can see, we have the exact same base interface as we did before, but of course we don't have the images of our NFTs. So let's go to the next part, and it's going to be generating the assets for this marketplace. So for that, we are going to be using ChatGPT. There are other AI tools for generating images, such as Stable Diffusion, other ones that you can run locally, but for this tutorial, for ease of use, we are going to be using ChatGPT, but feel free to create your own assets using any other AI. So for that, I'm going to open ChatGPT here on my screen, and I'm going to say here, generate a pixel art sort for a magic game inspired on the 90s. Let's hit enter, and this should generate an image for me. And as you can see, this is the result it came with. It's kinda nice. And same as I did before, I'm going to share the conversation I previously had with ChatGPT, on which I generated all the assets for the marketplace. So pixel art stuff, a magic potion, different types of swords and stuffs, and also created image from the front page for the marketplace. And I even asked to generate the descriptions of the items, so I could just copy the description and paste it directly on the NFT marketplace. So as I said, I'm going to also share this conversation with you on the description so you can check the entire history, and you can also take these assets if you want to use them as well. So now we already have the base application, which is nice. We have the in-game assets. Now let's deploy the NFT contract and the NFT marketplace in order to be able to list all of this. So I'm going to open a new tab and go to thirdweb.com. Let's log in. I'm going to log in using my MetaMask, and I need to complete the CAPTCHA. Sorry, let's complete this. Let's confirm here on MetaMask. And once you open this, you're going to have the overview of your projects. I have something called testing projects, and this is the one I'm going to be using to deploy the smart contract. Creating the NFT contract and the marketplace is going to be really easy. So let me show you. If you go to the contract section, you can click on deploy contract, and here you have a lot of options. First, let's deploy the NFT collection. So let's go to the NFT section and select the edition. So create editions of a ERC 1155 tokens. Let's click here and let's create the contract. So deploy now. And here I'm going to say NFT collection for Web3 MMO. I can upload an image. So for example, I can use this one. A symbol NCFWM, for example. Here you can put a nice description of what the collection is about. By default, it's going to select the recipient address as the wallet you have connected. The royalties. So for example, if someone wants to sell these NFTs on other marketplace, you can enforce the royalties and put here the percentage you want to get from each resale. So I'm going to select the chain. In this case, let's deploy into Sefolia network and let's click on deploy now. This should trigger my MetaMask to sign the transaction. Let's confirm this. And once this is done, we can click on view contract and the contract is going to appear on your dashboard. So creating a new NFT is quite easy. You just need to go to the NFT section over here and you can click on mint. So for example, I can create a new one called legendary sword. I can take the sword like this one. I can add the description. So for that, I can go back to actually the chat I had with ChatGPT and I can take this one, for example, and paste it on the interface. As this is a really rare sword, I'm going to say that there is just one on existence. I'm going to say the initial supply is going to be just one, and we're going to start adding some attributes here. So for example, I can say the power is going to be 99, the ability is going to be eviscerate, and the level is going to be 50, for example. I can click on mint now. This is going to trigger, of course, another transaction for me, and I can click on confirm. And once this is done, we are going to find the NFT over here with the description and all the attributes over here, which is really nice. So what you need to do now is to take all the assets you created for this collection and start minting the NFTs. For that, I actually have here another project on my testing projects, which I deployed on the Arbitrum Sefolia network. This one called the Arcane Relics of Power or Arcane Relics of Power. So if I go to the NFTs tab, as you can see, I already created the entire collection over here. I made 3 swords, 3 staves, and 3 potions. And I spent extra time, trying to make the attributes to be coherent between the power, ability, level, etc, etc. As you should do if you are going to create a game or something like that. So before you continue this tutorial, please be sure to add all the images we generated using ChatGPT or the AI you selected and create your collection. If you want to create your own collection from scratch and you have the assets, please also do so. So once we have the NFT contract, now we need to create the marketplace contract. So for that, I'm going to go again to my project, go to testing projects, contracts, deploy a contract, and here instead of deploying a edition contract, I need to deploy a marketplace. I'm going to use marketplace B3. So I'm going to select this, hit on deploy, and same as I did before, we need to add the information here. So marketplace for the Web3 MMO NFTs or any description you like. Same for the symbol, MPF, TWMN or whatever. And I'm going to use here this image that I made for the marketplace, which is going to be this one. Same as before, put here a nice description. Select the chain and hit on deploy, confirm the transaction, and same as you did before, you are going to have this nice dashboard. And in order to be able to sell the NFTs you created on the other contract, you need to go to direct listings, create a direct listing. Here you need to select the NFTs you want to sell. As you can see here, I have another NFTs I created for other tutorials, but let's hit on manual, and then we need to select the NFT contract address. I'm going to select the one we just created with you. So I'm going to paste here. I need to select the token ID. So the only NFT available here is this NFT, and the token ID of course is 0. So let's select that. We can select the currency we want to sell this item for, such as a custom ERC20. So for example, if you want to sell this using a specific currency such as USDC, you can do so. But as these are testnet, let's keep on Itzefolia for now. I'm going to select a listing price. Remember, this is on each, so I'm going to say 0.00003 or something like that. And the quantity mustn't exceed the available amount of NFTs you already have in the collection. So as this is a unique item, I can just list one. Let's click on create direct listing, and it seems I didn't put the contract address properly because I made an empty space here, as you can see. So let me remove that empty space. Let's click on create listing again. This is going to request me to approve the transaction. It's going to verify who is the owner of this NFT contract. So for that, it's going to approve this marketplace in order to list those NFTs, and then is going to actually list that. So once you approve and confirm the transaction, let's wait a little bit and let's confirm this for the listing. And as you can see here, the listing is going to appear here and the price we want to sell this item for. Same as I showed you before on my projects, I already created a different contract here called Pixel Art Marketplace Production, deployed on Arbitrum Cephalonia. And as you can see here on the direct listings, I listed all the items to sell this. Take in consideration that the important part for you here is to copy this contract address and the contract address of your NFT collection, because you are going to be using that on the front end. Okay, so by now we have created the user interface using V0. We created the game assets using ChatGPT or any other AI of your preference. We have deployed the smart contract for the collection and the smart contract for the marketplace. And we fill up the information of the metadata for both the NFTs and the listings on the marketplace. So with all of that, we are ready to integrate thirdweb services into the front end and be able to retrieve the information of the listings on the marketplace and allow our users to connect to the application. So let's get to it. For that, here I have on my terminal, as you can see on the right, I have the server running with the mock application, and here we need to install thirdweb. So for that, let me actually go to the correct folder, and here I'm going to say npm install thirdweb. Let's wait a little bit until this process finishes. And it seems it found one high severity vulnerability. So let's also use the npm audit fix -force in order to make everything work properly. Okay, it seems that everything works fine. Let me restart the server over here. Let's go back to the web page on localhost 3000. And it seems everything is working fine with the mock web page we created before. So in order to be able to interact with thirdweb services, we are going to need the client ID and then grab all the application within a thirdweb grabber. So in order to get the client ID, you can just go to your projects, and when you open a project, you are going to find here the client ID. So be sure to copy this. So on my terminal, I'm going to open this project using Cursor, which is a really nice code editor which has a AI integrated into it. So I'm going to say cursor dot to open cursor on this location. And this is the base interface you are going to have, and it has AI integrated, which has access to Cloud 3.7 Sonnet, which is the latest model from Anthropic, which is really good at coding and is going to be really helpful during this build. So as I said, we need to use the client, right? So for that, inside of the app, we are going to create a new file called client.ts, and I'm going to just copy this for now and just comment it. So let's use that client. For that, I'm going to say import create thirdweb client from thirdweb, and then I'm going to let cursor to fill up the information for me. So basically we declare the client ID with the one we have here on the comment, and then we export that client with create thirdweb client and the client ID, as easy as that. And now that we have the client, we just need to grab everything within the thirdweb container. So I'm going to go to the liat.tsx, and here I'm going to import thirdweb provider from thirdweb-react. And as easy as that, I'm going to just go inside of this body. I'm going to say here, create a new thirdweb provider. Let's remove the client, it's not needed here. And inside of this thirdweb provider, I'm going to put everything else. Let's save this. And as easy as that, we have access to all the thirdweb services has to offer using the thirdweb provider wrapper and declaring the client over here. So let me go back to my web page. Actually, let's reload this to see if everything still works fine. And it seems it does. So now basically we can replace this connect button with thirdweb's connect button, allowing our users to connect their wallets directly within the application. So let me go back to cursor. Let's go to the application structure. As you can see, all this structure was generated by B0, and if I'm not mistaken, the navbar is inside of components and pixel header. And instead of using this connect button over here, we are going to replace this with thirdweb's connect button. So let's do that. So for that, let me open a new comment here, connect button component. So I'm going to say import connect button from thirdweb-react. I'm going to also import the dark theme because I'm going to make this to be in coherence within all the application. And I'm going to also import in-app wallet and also create wallet. So I'm going to say import in-app wallet and create wallet from thirdweb-wallets. So it's not React, but wallets. Okay, I have everything. So as I already have the connect button, for me it's going to be as easy as use that within the client. And for that, I also need to import the client. So import the client. So I'm going to say import client from app-client, which is the one we declared together over here. So for that, over here in the button that says connect, this one, I can just remove this button and add here a connect button, send the client. I'm not going to be using this wallet information actually, so I can just remove this. And if I go back to my application, it should give me a connect button now. Let's wait until this recompiles. I can see the process actually here on the terminal. So let's wait a little bit. And as you can see here, that connect button is replaced with the one I have. It's loading right now because I already have my application connected before. And if I click here, I have this over here, which allow me to connect using these social logins and using a traditional wallet. But I want to personalize this to be coherent with my application. So for that, I invite you to go to your browser and type thirdweb playground. And here you are going to have access to the playground to personalize the connect button. So I can go to the button and I can say, okay, I want the appearance to be changed. So for example, the accent color must be this color, purple, for example, and the modal background is going to be white or whatever you want. So you can personalize this as you please in order to be able to get the exact styling you want. So for that, let me go back to my code. I already know what the configuration is going to look like. So I'm going to just add that as well. So instead of just using this simple connect button, I'm going to use this connect button. So I'm going to say the connect button uses the client, is going to be using some wallets. I haven't declared those wallets yet, so we are going to do that. We are going to be using the dark theme with this color scheme. You can 100% pause the video and copy this and just go to the playground and personalize this yourself. I need to declare some wallets though, so I'm going to say here after that, const wallets, I'm going to be using the in-app wallets we just declared, and I'm going to say the authentication for those in-app wallets is going to be equal to some options, and inside those options I'm going to say that I want to be able to connect with Google, Apple, email, and maybe Farcaster, which is really nice, Farcaster, and let's also add X. Okay, this is nice. I just need to fix the layout over here for the in-app wallet. So let me make this here, and let's copy and paste this. Okay, I have it. So I have Google, Discord, Telegram, Farcaster, email, X, passkey, or phone. And these are the only ones I'm going to be using because I want to offer in-app wallets and the ability for them to use Universal Bridge. In this case, I'm not going to allow the users to log in using other type of wallet. So let's go to the application, click on connect. And as you can see here, the styles now are correct and coherent with the application, and we have the ability to log in using all these social media, email address, phone number, and passkey, which is really, really nice. Okay, so now we already added the ability to connect to the application, so I'm going to do it using Google account, for example. And as I connected using Google, this creates automatically for me a wallet address on which I have the balance, and I can also buy some crypto directly from here if I like to do so. Okay, so let's continue. Now we have more information here on our marketplace because we don't have access to the information from the listings. So let's address that and show the actual information over here. So let me go back to my code editor cursor, and here on the NFT grid is where instead of using all of this mock information, we are going to be actually using the information from the smart contract. So let's start coding this section. I'm going to add the use effect hook here on the import from React. And here I'm going to start adding a lot more imports. So first thing first, I'm going to say import get all valid listings from thirdweb extensions dash marketplace. I'm going to also import the active account because I need to know which is the account connected, the one performing the purchase of the assets. I'm going to say use active account, and I'm going to say from thirdweb React. So thirdweb -react. Okay, I'm going to also use the define chain. So I'm going to say import define chain from thirdweb, and I'm going to also get contract because I need to get the contract address and the contract information. I'm going to import the client as well, which is going to be really important. As I told you, I deployed the NFTs using the Arbitrum Cephalonia. So I'm going to say import Arbitrum Cephalonia from thirdweb-chains. And finally, I'm going to import something called marketplace contract address. And this is going to be from at constants-addresses. This file, we don't have it, and I'm going to create right now. So here on the root folder of my application, I'm going to say, create me a new folder called constants. And here I'm going to open a new file called addresses.ts. And here I'm going to say export const marketplace contract address, and I'm going to use the contract address of the marketplace I created. Remember, you can check that on your thirdweb dashboard on your contracts. I'm going to be using this pixel art marketplace, which is in production, and I just need to copy this information because this is the one which has all the information of the listings I've created. So I'm going to use that address over here. Okay, and that's all the imports I need to use here. So inside of the function, I'm going to start adding some variables here. So first, I'm going to create a variable for the listings. So I'm going to say const listings and set listings. It's going to be an empty array of the type any. I'm going to also create a variable for the is loading because I want to know if the information is loading from the server or not. It's not a server actually, it's from the blockchain, but you get the idea. Then I'm going to use the chain. So I'm going to say const chain is equal to define chain. I'm going to define it to Arbitrum Cephalonia. I need to declare the market. So I'm going to say const market is going to be equal to get contract. I'm going to open this as brackets. I'm going to say address dot market contract address. I'm going to use the chain and the client. And as easy as that, I declare the market contract I can use to retrieve the information. I'm going to use a helper function called from format IPFS URL. This is going to be used to format the images coming from the marketplace. Remember, when you create or you upload this information through the thirdweb dashboard, these images actually exist on IPFS. As you can see, this is a large format IPFS URL, and we need to decode that information. So I'm going to use this helper to use in my client ID to use the IPFS addresses accordingly. So I need this to be fetched each time this application reloads. So for that, I'm going to add a use effect. And inside of this use effect, I'm going to create a new function called const fetch valid listings is equal to async. I'm going to open the function, open the brackets here, and I'm going to say set is loading to true. And I'm going to say try const listings are going to be equal to await get all valid listings, but I'm not going to send just the market as parameter, but some parameters over here is going to be the contract equals to the market, is going to start at 0 and is going to count. I'm going to use big int here till 15, like getting the latest 15 listings. We can change this as we please. Then I'm going to use that set listings as lists. Instead of listings, I'm going to use lists here. And we have an unknown type of the data called listing. So for that, I'm going to create that type. Remember, we are using TypeScript. That's why we need to be really conscious on the type. So I'm going to have here type listing, and I'm going to just open and close here this. And as this says that, I think this error is going to be solved. So yeah, it's solved. Inside the error, I'm just going to print something. And finally, I'm going to fetch those listings. So here I'm going to add a finally, and I'm going to just set is loading to false, is loading to false. And of course, we need to invoke these fetch valid listings, because otherwise we just have the function declared, but we are not going to get the information. With this simple function, now we are getting all the valid listings from the marketplace each time we reload this page. Now we need to get that information to be shown on each card the B0 AI created for us, right? But let me show you one interesting trick we can do using cursor. So let me go back to the button on the card. So as you can see here on our interface, we have a button here called buy now. So I'm going to look for that button, buy now, and I'm going to add a on-click functionality. So I'm going to say on-click console.log, and instead of console.log.now, I'm going to console the lists or the listings. So let me save this. Let's go back to my application. Let's open the console over here. Let's clear everything. And if I click here on buy now, it should return me all the valid listings as you can see over here, which is pretty nice. Now, I can just start looking out this information, like this is the structure of the listings, so I can get each information. So I should add these types directly here within the context of the type listing. However, we can use AI, and in this case cursor agent, to help us through the process. Let me show you how this works. So instead of just consoling log the listings, I'm going to say JSON.stringify and the listings. If I do this, I'm going to get an error actually. Let me clear the terminal and hit buy now, and it's going to tell me that uncaught error, I don't know how to serialize a big int. And the reason is because the types from the blockchain comes as big ints, but we can solve this by just copying this, Control L to open the chat. I'm taking all this console.log, typing Command L. As you can see, it's going to get the information from the NFT grid from this line to this line, or in this case, the line 261. And I'm going to say, I'm getting this error. This is going to add a different type format here. I'm sure about that. So let me accept these changes. So apply this to the NFT grid. I'm going to accept the changes. So let me close this, and as you can see here, what it did is use a key value in order to handle that big int. Let me go back to the application. Let's clear the terminal. Let me make this bigger for you. And I'm going to just click now. And as you can see here, we are going to have this amazing large string of information. So let's copy this, open a new tab and say JSON viewer. Let's open the first JSON viewer we find on Google and let's paste this here and click on format. And as you can see here, I have this format over here with all the information. So I'm going to select all, copy, and this is where the magic is going to happen. So I'm going to select everything here and I'm going to say Control L. Instead of using ask, I'm going to change to agent and I'm going to say the information I get from the function to get the listings is the following. I'm going to open the code brackets over here or the code sections in Markdown. Let's paste all that JSON we have. I need each card to take this information and show it on the screen accordingly. Let's hit on send. And this is going to take all the information we get from this amazing JSON and is going to start making changes here to change the type of the listing and add the information of each one of the cards accordingly in order to show the information. So let's wait until that goes by. So let me go back. It's thinking, it's generating the code. So let's wait a little bit, shall we? So as I said, it's creating a new structure for the type listing with all the information. It's updating the listing type, removing the sample data, added helper functions, and it's going to keep working. So I'm going to just say accept file. It seems that it makes some changes, but I'm not sure what it did. So let me see if that works fine. Let me go back to the application and magically everything works. As you can see, the information for each NFT is now present over here. So we have the information from the Dragon Slayer, the winter is coming, and all the information as I show you at the beginning of the video. Do you realize how cool is this? You don't need to actually tinker with all these data types on the structured information you get from the blockchain, but you can use AI agent, in this case, Cursor AI agent, to take that information and format it properly for you, which is crazily good. Though you have some limitations. So for example, here, if I click on the hash maker, it's going to open this, but the context, let me actually wait because I'm sure that is compiling. Let me go back here. Yeah, it compiled everything from scratch because that page wasn't loaded before. So if I open, for example, the hash maker, it's going to still tell me the flaming sword and is not getting the information properly. What can I do now? Okay, I can have two options. I can look what the AI did and understand how the information was presented using this listing. This is the path I recommend you to learn what's happening. But as this is a demo video and we want to speed things up, let's use Cursor AI agent to keep working for us, shall we? So I know that the information for the specific parts of each NFT lives here inside of components. No, it's not in components. It should be on NFT, ID, and page. So I'm going to say, okay, Control L to open the chat again. I'm going to keep the context of the NFT grid, but I'm going to add a new context. So I'm going to say, I want NFT-ID-page. So I'm referring to this page right now. I'm going to change again to agent and I'm going to say, the information of each NFT on NFT-ID-page is not showing as expected. This must also show the information of each NFT same as you did on the NFT grid. Let's hit on send and this is going to start working. It's going to take a look to the page.tsx and it's going to try to add the exact same logic as it did on the NFT grid. As you can see, we just need to wait a little bit until this finishes. And until this process, let me tell you something. We live on the era of AI and it doesn't mean that the AI is going to do all the work for us. It means that all these repetitive tasks of handling types and not being able to do things faster are over because AI agents are going to take care of them, but you still need to have the understanding on how this system works and what you are doing in order to make this to work properly. It seems that it's doing some changes, same as it did before, so I'm just going to let this to process the information. It seems it made some changes, so let's see if that works. I'm just going to accept file, save this, go back to my code, and as it were magic, all the information of the NFT appears as it should, with the details, the history, and the attributes. How cool is this? Let me go back to the main page, and for example, instead of using the hash maker of the sword in flames, let's for example click on storm maker, for example. It's going to take a look and give me all the details. So this is it. This is the way you start creating these interfaces. So if you take a look, for example, if you click on stuff and let's wait until it compiles this page, unfortunately, it's again not going to be able to fetch that information. So what you need to keep doing is going to cursor and asking, hey, this is not showing the information I like, please try to fix. And after tinkering a little bit here and there, it's going to be able to give you the entire user interface. As I don't want this video to be so repetitive and you already have the power to using Cursor AI solve these problems, let's jump to the final part on which we are going to integrate the ability to actually buy these assets, and I'm going to show you how you can do it using, well, the pay embed and the universal bridge, which is directly integrated with the connect button we already added to the application. So let's jump to that part. So after playing some time with the cursor agent, I was able to generate the final interface I showed you at the beginning of the video, adding this nice background over here and make the categorization work to filter from each type of item and make the information to be coherently presented across the entire application. Basically, the only thing I did was just keep asking cursor agent to solve this, because as we already did the important part, which was integrating the getting the information out of the blockchain, this interface portion was handled mostly completely by the cursor AI agent. Now let's go to the part I mentioned, that is how we can actually implement the buy functionality out of this marketplace. So let me actually select any item, for example, the flaming sword. And if I click right now on buy button, it's not going to do anything at all. So let's implement that functionality, which is going to be integrated with the universal bridge, because basically we have already created or integrated the connect button. So it's going to be really easy to implement. Let me go back to cursor, and that's going to be here on page.tsx. I make a copy just in case I mess something up, but let's get started with that. So basically for that, we need to import some stuff. So let me get to it. So for that, I'm going to say import buy from listing from thirdweb extensions marketplace. It's because I want to buy from the direct listings, and I want to import base, and I'm also going to import use send transaction. If you take a look to the documentation of thirdweb, so if I go to thirdweb universal bridge and we open the documentation here on the send transaction, you're going to see that if we use this use send transaction hook with any of the transactions we want to make, this is going to be automatically connected to universal bridge. So that's why we are going to be using this one. And it seems that we need to use this mutate and data on the transaction result and use send transaction. So let's do that actually. Let's go back to cursor and let's see what we can accomplish here. So right after here, I'm going to say const mutate send transaction, the data and the transaction result. Let me close this. And inside of here, I can just make or leave this blank, but I can actually personalize this. So for example, I can make the payments to be just on USDC. So for example, I can add the personalization and say pay modal, buy with crypto false. I don't want people being able to buy with crypto. I want them to pay with fiat, and they need to pay on the mainnet using this address, which is the address of USDC coin. Basically what I did is go into the documentation, and if you take a look to customization, use send transaction, I just copy and pasted this. A little disclaimer here is that this specifically is not going to work because I'm using a testnet and this is not actually connected to a pay system such as Stripe or Coinbase, but I wanted to show you how you would implement this directly when you send this application to production. Let's continue. So once I have the information of use send transaction, I can integrate the functionality of buy from listing directly when I click that button. So let me go back to it. So I'm going to say after the use effect I have here, I'm going to say const buy NFT. It's going to take as a parameter the listing ID I want to buy from. Let me close this. And inside of this, I'm going to add a try catch statement as always, because it's a really good practice. I'm going to catch the error. And if I have an error, I'm going to console.log that error. So inside of here, I'm going to declare the transactions. I'm going to say const transaction is going to be equal to await buy from listing. That's why I imported that. Let's see if the auto completion is good. So it's telling me that it's going to use the market, the listing ID, the quantity, and the recipient address. Of course, the recipient address must be the account connected because otherwise it wouldn't make sense, right? I'm going to add check here. So if it doesn't find an account, maybe the user wallet gets disconnected by some reason, I'm going to add a console.log and return to cancel the transaction. Then I'm going to say await send TX and the transaction. Basically, I'm using this use send transaction. And as you can see here in the mutate parameter, send transaction is the one we need to use. So that's why I'm using exactly that. And that's it. That's the only thing we need to do. So basically, if I go back to the button, so let me actually file from buy. By now, as you can see here, right now it doesn't do anything. I can just use here the buy NFT function. And of course, I need to send the proper information. So I'm going to say I'm going to use a number and the NFT.id. And this should be a function like this, a lambda function, in order for this to work. And that's it. If you are wondering where I get this NFT ID, remember that when I fetch the information of the listings, one of the information contained is also the ID. So if you check, for example, where is it? On the NFT grid, the type of the listing, as you can see here, the first thing we have on the listing type is the ID. So I can basically just take the ID from the NFTs we already get from the blockchain. So let me go back to it. And I think that that's it. That's everything I need to make this happen. So let me go back to my application. Let's go back to the app and let's click on buy now. This should trigger a transaction within my in-app wallet. Let's wait a second. And as you can see here, it's telling me, oh, you need to pay 0.25 ETH. I disabled the ability to pay with crypto. So it's telling me that I need to choose my payment method and it's going to create the quote for me. Of course, it's going to be enabled to get the price quote because I'm using a testnet. But if this was a mainnet, it's going to give me the quote, same as I show you at the beginning of the video when I explain you what Universal Bridge is. So now this is one of the ways you can integrate this using this use send transaction. This is nice because now if you accept payments on any token, by allowing your users to pay using the Universal Bridge, they are going to be able to buy the assets and bridge them directly to the token they need to purchase. Same as I show you at the beginning of the video again when I show you how the Universal Bridge works. There is another option though I want to show you that you can directly customize and add that as well. So let me show you how it works. So instead of using this use send transaction, I'm going to use pay embed. Remember, you can check that on the documentation. So if you see to Universal Bridge, we have three options: connect button, the one we applied, we have send transaction, the one I just showed you, and we also have pay embed, which I'm going to show you how to implement right now. So let me go back to cursor. I'm going to add some imports over here. This part is 100% optional just for showcasing purposes. So let me go back here and import the things we need. So I need to import pay embed and get the default token. And I'm going to import base. So here on the buy button, instead of using this buy button, I'm going to actually delete this buy button. and I'm going to say here, I actually want to use a pay embed. And let me close this pay embed. And the pay embed requires some parameters. So let's see which ones they are. So I need to declare the client, same as I do with the connect button. I'm going to use the dark option, and here I can use some pay options. So for the pay options, I'm going to just copy and paste what I have on the documentation just to show you. So I'm going to say that I want a direct payment. I want the amount to be $35. Of course, this is against how this asset actually works. And I want to pay using base token, and this is the token address, or sorry, the wallet address, which is going to receive the assets, which is my wallet address. If I save this and I go back to my application, you are going to notice that right now the interface looks weird because I'm embedding this payment here. But as you can see here, it's requesting me to pay using $30 of USDC, and I can do the exact same, choose the payment method and paying using, well, my wallet. In this case, using my credit or debit card. Now, this payment option of this pay embed would be really useful if instead of selling NFTs, I would selling, t-shirts, cups, or any physical object, and I want them to be able to pay using this system, because once we have the payment, I can trigger another transaction or another step on my application for me to know, okay, I need to actually send the items to them. And that was it. We were able to create this amazing marketplace from scratch using the help of B0. We created the NFT contracts both for the marketplace and for the collection, and we were able to integrate that all together into the interface. And thanks to Universal Bridge, we were able to allow our users to pay using any token or even fiat payments, all integrated within one single component, which is the connect button or the pay embed. This was really nice. I hope you enjoyed this project so far. Please let me know if you enjoyed this on the comments below and give us ideas for new content. If you are not subscribed, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. And that was it on my end. I'll see you on the next occasion. See ya!